What is truth, and how exactly I can understand the truth, and more importantly, how can I make myself live by this truth? I try to understand myself, and mostly I try to explain myself to myself. I try to find my notions that I disagree with. I try to understand why I disagree with some notions about the world and agree with some notions about the world. And it's funny because all those notions live within me, and I try to figure out where they came from and why I adapted certain ideas about me and about the world. Truth is an interesting thing. Sometimes I feel I'm holding a light in the darkness, and I shine this light on objects in front of me, while by myself I stand in darkness. It means I shine on other people while feeling dark within me. I think we need to do backward. I need to shine light on myself, because if I'm within darkness and while shining on other people, this light doesn't make no difference, because the darkness within me, and if the darkness within me, this artificial shining on other people, won't help me to understand them, since I don't understand myself, since I'm the one who's in darkness. And it's interesting because we celebrate enlightenment of the West. And I was thinking about Lucifer, who was the light bearer. And he was the one who was incredibly prideful. And he was the one who defined God, who wanted to be like God, or even better than God. And as punishment, he was thrown to hell. And in some sense, the Enlightenment did the same thing to us. We became prideful. And we start taking our morals for granted. And what exactly is good and what exactly is bad? Because how you can identify good while being honest with yourself completely? Because we have so many demons within us. You can call those demons urges or impulses, or you can call them demons. But how you can say they are bad or good if they are part of you? A thought is an incredibly important thing for me. And this thought can be corrupted so easily and so unexpectedly, and even unnoticeably. On a certain point, I realized that this thought was corrupted, and suddenly I'm thinking about things I shouldn't think about. And suddenly I have certain fantasies or imagery I shouldn't have. And it's not, how can I say, it's not a good thing to have. We have to be able to control our thoughts. But then again, come back to truth. How do I know what is true and what is not? And yes, there's generic truth and there's real truth. Generic truth is something that I just repeat after other people. I just accept because it's safe to accept. I see other people around me saying certain things, and I accept those things because they sound like truth, and accepting them makes me safe, makes me a part of a tribe. But it's generic truth because I do not personify this truth. I do not attach this truth to myself. I do not live by this truth, because that's the way I should treat a real truth. I should personify it. I should adapt it to me, or adapt myself to this truth. I should think carefully about this truth, because if time comes, I have to be able to sacrifice myself for this truth. And that's what we have the problem in the West. I don't think atheism, people who don't believe in God, are able to sacrifice themselves for the truth, because they have truth, they understand the truth, but the framework that protect you and your courage to defend this truth lies in the religion or that this truth emerge with. Because all our ethics, all our morals in the West emerge from Christianity. And this framework is incredibly important because this framework gives us courage to defend what truly matters. Otherwise, how do you know what matters? And another thing, we praise now tolerance. Everybody's supposed to be tolerant. But to what and to what extent? That's a good question. Because why would I be tolerant to someone who's not tolerant to my idea of truth, to my idea of God, and to my idea of civilization that I'm a part of? Why would I be tolerant to someone who has a desire, a thought to destroy everything that's dear to me? Because it's matter what we think about the world. Because a thought is the first step toward actions. That's why we have to be very careful the way we think. And we have to defend our thoughts. We have to defend the place we love. We have to defend our civilization, and we have to defend our moral framework, and we have to defend Christianity. Because this idea that Christians are supposed to be very forgiving and very timid and meek is the wrong idea, because Jesus wasn't a meek man. He was able to defend his values, and he chose to go on the cross. And it was incredibly brave gesture. He couldn't escape. He could have escaped. He could have refused to endure this horrific torture, but he didn't. That's a good example, because now, for some reason, we're afraid to say the truth. We, for some reason, listen people who tell us, I feel this way, therefore you have to be tolerant to my feelings. I feel this way, therefore you must comply to my feelings. I feel this way, therefore your truth doesn't matter, because your truth offends my feelings, because your truth goes against my feelings. And suddenly so many of us terrified to say reasonable things. And it's funny because it's incredibly uneven. Only one part of the West is supposed to be tolerant, Christians in this case, while any other religion can have a right to defend itself, have a right to stand behind their moral framework, while liberals, progressive liberals on the other side, support those people in their defense while condemning Christians just for pointing out things that isn't correct. If we don't have dialogue, we have nothing. And tolerance is a good thing, but to the ones who are tolerant to us as well. Whether we like it or not, a lot of people use tolerance to abuse other people. They use tolerance like a Trojan horse. When you realize that you're tolerant to snakes, you've already been bitten. Is it wise to be tolerant to the snakes that came to your Garden of Eden with intention to bite you? Think about it, you're in the Garden of Eden, suddenly a bunch of snakes slither in. And would you be tolerant to those snakes? Because snakes bite, that's what they do. And once you're bitten by them, it's too late, because you're about to die. And your Garden of Eden about to become ruins of something that you're supposed to defend, but you never did. And how you can identify tolerance and cowardliness. I'm always struggling to understand what's the difference between nice people and cowards, because in many cases they behave the same. Because if you're tolerant to a degree that you're ready to tolerate any abuse toward your own culture, toward your civilization, toward your God, and toward yourself, you're not tolerant, you're just a coward. You can be tolerant to a certain degree, and this degree must be measured very carefully. But then again, you're supposed to know the truth, you're supposed to understand the truth, and you're supposed to know what truth is. You have to take this light that came from us to enlightenment, with enlightenment, the scientific revolution, and direct this light on yourself. Because that's what we forgot. What we did, we have this light that was created for us by science, and we directed on everything, on matter. But this matter we directed our lights on doesn't matter at all, because this matter is just matter that has nothing underneath. But we should direct this light on ourselves, because we live in darkness. Maybe we have scientific enlightenment, but we turn our spiritual being into darkness. That's what happened. It's interesting paradox. From one side we have scientific enlightenment, from the other side we have spiritual hibernation. Seems like we asleep in a spiritual way, but the enemy at the gate, and the enemy doesn't sleep. The enemy knows what it wants, but we don't, because we want to be tolerant, we want to be nice, we want to be good, but we do not sacrifice. We do not make proper sacrifice any longer, because proper sacrifice must be done when you know what you sacrifice for. If you don't know your sacrifice and why you do the sacrifice in the first place, it's not a sacrifice, it's just a lie you hide your cowardliness behind. And everything starts with the truth. And I'm really tired seeing people keeping explaining themselves, keeping justifying their words. You don't have to. If people misunderstood you, it's on them, not on you. Because it really doesn't matter. What matters is to be able to look for the truth, to find the truth. And again, you have to find the truth within yourself. That's what I'm trying to do. I try to find the truth within myself. Try to understand, try to explain myself to myself, why I see things the way they are. And there's subjective truth outside of me. And there's subjective understanding of it inside of me. Again, there's objective truth outside of me, subjective experience of this truth inside of me. And my subjective experience of this objective truth must be defended by myself, by my own courage. Because it's really easy once you give certain ideologies to pervert the objective truth that lives outside of you. You have only two options: or you will defend your subjective experience of this truth and don't let ideologies to destroy this objective truth by sacrificing yourself for your subjective experience of this truth, or you will have to enslave yourself, your subjective experience of this truth, by destroying your subjective experience of objective truth. And then you're going to live in hell. That's what happened to people. That's what happened, because I notice it can sometimes happen to me, because sometimes I feel uncomfortable to express myself on the things that seems reasonable, but for some reason something stopped me from expressing myself properly. And then I feel bad, then I feel that I betray myself in my heart and become more dark on the inside, because darkness can consume you completely, and darkness makes us resentful and makes us hateful, because truth is light that must be directed on each of us. And with this truth we have to understand ourselves to be able to discover this subjective experience of this objective truth. And once we do that, we know why we doing sacrifices for this objective truth. Otherwise, objective truth will be corrupted by ideologies of other people who don't care about this objective truth, who doesn't have the same moral framework, who doesn't have the same God, or who doesn't have gods at all. But people worship something anyway. If they don't have God to worship, they worship their ideology, they worship their bodies, they worship matter that doesn't matter in the first place, because it's just matter, soulless, miserable matter they worship to their own resentfulness. But that's the point. The point is to understand objective truth by using your subjective experience, and then develop within yourself this ability to sacrifice everything about yourself to this objective truth, because Without truth, we will be consumed by ideology, and there's nothing worse than live under the heavy boot of ideology.